Okay, so we are being recorded so that this can be available and accessible to you and others afterward. Before we do quick announcements, I'd just like to ask everyone who's joined to take a quick moment and introduce yourself in the chat, please. Just your name, where you're dialing in from, who you're with, maybe your favorite water trail. Yeah, just some info on who's joining us today would be really helpful, and it'd be helpful for our panelists to see as well. Quick announcements. I'm going to turn it over to Nathan to do a quick plug about the upcoming conference this fall.
You know, in retrospect, I should have made Lisa do this. So Lisa, myself, and then the West Virginia Trail Group are putting on the conference, an in-person conference this year in October. Let me see if I get the dates right, 28th and 29th. So 28th is going to be indoor sessions at Glade Springs near Beckley. And it's going to be about best practices, collaboration opportunities, funding coming down the pike, pretty much anything you can think of related to trails. And then the next day is going to be a half day of field trips. So I'm still organizing those field trips, but I just spoke to somebody with the Forest Service, and just for an example, I spoke to someone at the Forest Service. We're going to have a land manager hike. So we're going to go out, hang out with some land managers from the Forest Service and NPS, and hopefully DNR, and just chat with them. There's a couple opportunities to go hiking with some cultural and explore cultural assets. And yeah, so tons of opportunity, tons of chances to learn things as well on the Friday and the Saturday. And I think registration will open in the next couple of weeks. So stay tuned. And I think y'all will be added to the email list in one way or another. Did I miss anything? I'm gonna call out Lisa here. Did I miss anything there? I got the no. Okay, back to you, Kelly.
Thank you. Yeah, so if you registered for the webinar or you're already on the West Virginia Trail list, you'll see that announcement soon. And I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Kelly Pack. I'm with Rails to Trails Conservancy. We're playing a advisory role in the West Virginia Trail organization, and just happy to be here today with all of you. I'm going to be learning a lot about paddling and water trails because my experience is rooted in rail trails and land trails, but it's an exciting time to also, I think, for those of us who are more focused on hiking, biking, equestrian trails, thinking about the important connection with water trails within our regions. I think that there are, we know nationally there are a lot of efforts to develop trail networks that include all different types of land and water trails. And it's really exciting to know that West Virginia is making efforts to do things like designate some of these flatwater trails. And I'm sure that this will hopefully spark some ideas for you in thinking about how different trail types in your area can connect into some of the flatwater trail possibilities around you. So without further ado, we've got a really great panel. As I said, I'm sure you all got the registration email and saw their short bios. Everyone's going to have about 10 minutes to do a presentation. Like I said, please feel free to use the chat during that time if you have a question or comment. And we'll leave about 15 minutes at the end for questions and discussion. So I'm going to do a quick intro of everyone and then pass it over to Amanda. But first up, we have Amanda Pitzer. She's the Executive Director of Friends of the Cheat and West Virginia's flagship watershed group. She began her tenure in 2010. Wow, Amanda, awesome. FOC has solidified its reputation as a leader in water quality protection and restoration. Once named one of America's most endangered rivers, the Cheat River now boasts healthy fisheries from its headwaters to its confluence with the Monongahela. Fueled by clean water and local enthusiasm, a recreation revival is underway as FOC leads both critical and local support systems and regional strategies. So Amanda was named one of West Virginia's 50 Wonder Women by West Virginia Living magazine, and in 2020 she was honored with the National River Hero Award. Amanda was appointed by the governor to serve as one of West Virginia's first Flatwater Trail Commissioners, and she is a board member of the newly reinvigorated statewide trail organization, West Virginia Trail, which you are a part of right now. John Burchett is the Vice President and Projects Coordinator with Friends of Tug Fork River, a nonprofit organization formed to preserve and protect the Tug Fork River and its watershed, raise awareness of its history, and develop recreation, tourism, and economic opportunities for our area. In 2021, the Bloody Mingo Tug Fork Water Trail became a designated West Virginia Flatwater Trail, the 8th river in the state to receive that designation. So congrats on that, John. We'll hear from you shortly. And finally, Brewster Rhodes is the founder and chair of the Ohio River Paddle Fest, an annual event in Cincinnati that benefits Adventure Crew, a nonprofit that works 24 inner city high schools to get teens out into nature to paddle, bike, hike, camp, fish, climb, and more. Now retired, but not really Brewster, right? Brewster spent his professional career in the political arena in Greater Cincinnati and served as the executive director of Green Umbrella, the nonprofit that started Tri-State Trails. Brewster has served on the Ohio Riverway Board for nearly 20 years and is the co-chair of the Ohio River Recreational Trail. So welcome, Amanda, John, and Brewster. We're going to get started with Amanda's presentation, but I did also want to introduce Jeremy Morris, who many of you already know. He's working with West Virginia Trail, as I mentioned at the beginning, and also does work with American Rivers too. And I know that's there might be some folks from American Rivers West Virginia Rivers joining us today. So Jeremy's going to moderate our Q&A at the end, and feel free, like I said, to pop your questions in the chat. Amanda, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you with those introductions out of the way.
Thank you, Kelly. I am going to share my screen. Has everyone seen my cover, my title? Great, thank you. I guess we're on Zoom, so we can't go side by side. So that's good. You don't necessarily have to look at my face the whole time, but thank you, Kelly, for that great introduction. I am Amanda Pitzer. I'm up here in Preston County, West Virginia. And today I'm going to spend a little bit of time, just a brief moment, talking about the history of how we started our water trail, and then focus more on the bigger picture stuff with the West Virginia Flatwater Trail Commission. Let me make sure I can get my slides going here. So for those of you that don't know, oops, there we go. Let's try again. For those of you that don't know who Friends of the Cheat are, we're a 501c3 watershed group based out of Kingwood, West Virginia, which is up in Preston County. So if you're looking at my kind of blurry map here, we're located right in the middle of this red section of river, our offices. But of course, the watershed extends all the way down to Snowshoe in Pocahontas County. It's a 1,400 square mile watershed. And as an organization, we cut our teeth restoring the river, cleaning it up from abandoned mine lands and the pollution that comes with legacy coal mining. And as a result, we've had great success. Why am I having a hard time advancing the slides? We're having great success. And as a result, we are seeing a recreation revival on the Cheat. The Cheat River was West Virginia's first commercially rafted river. So most folks know of the Cheat as a whitewater river. So back in 2011, when our volunteer, now we call them our water trail committee, but when we had some interested citizens come to us and say, well, what about flatwater paddling? It was an eye-opener. Friends of the Cheat was formed by whitewater enthusiasts and locals and fishermen, but we had never really thought about promoting or getting involved in flatwater paddling. And following the success and energy around the Coal River Water Trail and other flatwater paddling, we decided to start developing the Upper Cheat Water Trail. So The Upper Cheat was designated formally in 2012. It starts up in Hendricks, of course, the river forks. So we have a access point in Hendricks, and we have several in Parsons. The forks meet in Parsons, and it flows 38 miles north to the final access point, which is in Rollsburg. This photo that you're seeing now is of the active CSX rail line over the Cheat River right in Rollsburg. This is essentially the end of the trail. Why water trails? Why flatwater paddling? I think everyone here can kind of fill in the blanks, but not only is this an accessible recreation activity to many, but it is a great economic driver. So as West Virginia moves into diversifying our economy, flatwater paddling is a great tool to bring more people here for tourism, but also it creates an activity that just about almost anybody can do. So the livability piece and the benefits to the community are also built in. So why do we do this? Well, this is why. We do it because of the kids. We do it because of the critters. We do it because of our small towns. That drone photo there is of Rollsburg. Rollsburg is, again, the final stop on our water trail and was ravaged by the flood of 1985 and has still been slow to recover. And paddling has brought a lot of interest and excitement to that town. Why else do we do it? Why else do we want to get people on the river? Because this is how we build river stewards. When I first moved to Preston County 15 years ago, my first job was substitute teaching at the Rollsburg School. Rollsburg School is right on the river. And I went into my 6th grade classroom and I said, who loves to paddle? And not one student raised their hand. No one had been on the Cheat River, although they live there. And largely this is because of a generation of folks whose lives were devastated by flooding. Also, in a rural community, we don't have a great place for folks to learn how to swim. So it is a barrier to getting on the river. We need to have friends, we need to have the buddy system. And this is how we develop stewards to care about the river. So I show this photo of me testifying at the legislature because oftentimes when we're paddling, we learn more about our waterways. Friends of the Cheat is largely a restoration conservation group. And a few years after we opened our water trail, which was in 2012, we became acutely aware of some pollution issues that we had not been paying attention to. We've been restoring streams from abandoned mine lands, but hadn't really turned our head to consider impacts from bacteria. When the river's dead from AMD, you don't really care about the bacteria. But now that we have hundreds of people floating the river, it became really important for us to understand what was going on. So we started our Swim Guide monitoring program. Swim Guide is an international organization, and we do use our paid staff and interns to sample our access points. In the summer, we do this weekly. We publish the results online prior to the weekend, typically, so people can get an idea of what's happening in the river. The Cheat is an extraordinarily clean river. We do not have a lot of bacteria impacts. The problems that we do have are largely from failing municipal systems, which are thankfully, as a result of the infrastructure bill, are getting some funding and some love. But I just wanted to share this because I think paddling and stewardship go hand in hand. And if anyone has any questions about water monitoring or anything like that, please do not hesitate to reach out to me separately or ask some questions in the chat. So the bigger picture, is not just about the Upper Cheat, but is about flatwater paddling across the state. And we have a couple really great allies, particularly in the southern part of the state, who've been doing this work for a longer time than me, namely Bill Curry, who's the chairman of the Coal River Group. If you're a flatwater paddler and you don't know Bill Curry, you should probably meet him. He is a force to be reckoned with. And he is the individual who drove the idea of forming the Flatwater Trail Commission. It was his baby because he saw the need for coordination, information sharing, and then ultimately marketing, right? getting the information out there to folks. So the Flatwater Trail Commission was formed by the West Virginia Legislature in 2020. You can see the names of the commissioners here. We do have John Burchett. He's going to follow me today. And the first thing we had to do is define what a Flatwater Trail is. So it is a trail on water that is designed to provide paddlers with a safe way to explore a river, stream, or lake. It cannot be whitewater. It needs to be, we often say family friendly. We try not to classify the rivers because actually most rivers in West Virginia are class 1. So this Flatwater idea is kind of innocuous, but what does a typical trail have? We have launches, right? We have takeouts, put-ins, we have signage, we have a map, and safety information specific to the trip. So how do you get a water trail designated? This is our current list of the official water trails. An official water trail must go through a West Virginia Division of Highways nomination or certification process. Friends of the Cheat and our other water trails are happy to share our application materials, so you can just fill in your information and don't have to recreate the wheel. The certification process, I said, runs through DOH, and it is reviewed and authorized by the West Virginia Recreational Trail Advisory Board, which includes notable folks such as the director of the West Virginia DOH Planning Division and our Chelsea Ruby, who is, I'm screwing up her new title, the Secretary of Tourism. She was elevated to a cabinet position. So those two folks are actually on the commission, and happy to announce that the newest water trail was designated in the last year, and that is the Bloody Mingo Tug Fork Water Trail. And John's going to talk a little bit more about his specific water trail. And here's my hard part of trying to define what the goals and objectives of the commission are. The commission is not an agency. We don't have money. We don't have staff. But we do have an interest and a passion for promoting Flatwater paddling across the state and helping those that are contributing to this effort. So there's a lot of text here, but I'll quickly try and cover the goals and objectives. 1, locate and map the existing water trails. That sounds like a low bar, but we still don't know what all of the official water trails are. We're trying to refine this list, and that's because the state process has been a little disjointed over the years. Oftentimes you have one person who's really, it's kind of their baby, and then when they leave, some of that institutional knowledge doesn't carry forward. So we've been, for the last 2 years, still trying to gather information on the trails, the access points, and who the sponsors are, who are the folks that are maintaining these trails. In addition to that, what proposed or future potential water trails could there be? Cataloging those attributes and sharing that information with our agency partners, particularly at DNR. There's a really important bullet on here that I'm going to make sure to mention because I know we have a representative from DNR on the call today. A huge opportunity for water trail access points are when we are repairing or building a new road or bridge that crosses a stream or river or runs adjacent to a stream or river. How can we get our highways folks thinking about water trail access or any type of paddling access? And on the call today, I had the pleasure of meeting Ann Wakeford, who works at the West Virginia DNR, and it's her job to review all those plans and say, maybe we should do boat access here. So I hope we get the opportunity here at the end of the call today to hear from Ann, because really we need to kind of break down these walls amongst our agencies and work together and collaborate. And that's going to involve DOH, tourism, DNR, and a lot of other folks. Another goal of ours, this is more of a long-term goal, would be to expand the state's gauging system. Really need to know how much water is in our rivers to decide if we can float and fish. Water temperature is critical to fishing. So the USGS gauges, if you aren't familiar with those, make sure you do familiarize yourself with the USGS gauges in your area. Do you have a gauge on your river? How do you know how much water is there? And then finally, this is a great kind of segue for John as well, because his trail is in an area with a lot of OHV and ATV use around the Hatfield-McCoy Trail. So we know that these types of activities complement each other. If you're going to travel to the Cheat, you might do a whitewater section, you might do a flatwater float one day, and then you might go for a bike ride. So looking at beneficial multimodal, that's an important trail word, multimodal. So how can we add or complement other trail amenities that would increase the interest? Friends of the Cheat is fortunate in that our water trail ends in Rollsburg, but the whitewater section start, we're going to have a rail trail paralleling that. So we're really looking at kind of maximizing all of those potential interests for different users. And I will say, I added these dog pictures into my presentation at the last minute because John has great dog pictures, and dogs and paddling go together just like fishing. Promise. So finally, why do we do this all? We're doing it for the future of our state. And these are photos of my son, Emmett. Emmett will be 2 next month, and he is already a water trail aficionado. That photo of him up top is him passed out after 4 miles on the Upper Cheat Water Trail. I think he ate about a half a watermelon. But this is what the future is about. It's about caring about our rivers and streams, bringing the positive type of economic development that comes with that, and teaching our future generations about why is this important. So that was a quick overview. I've included my contact information on these slides. The next Flatwater Trail Commission meeting is August 2nd. It's going to be at the DNR headquarters. I'm sorry, I do not have a link or any information to share at this time, but if you are interested in tuning in or even attending this meeting, please let me know in the chat or send me an email, and I'll make sure that we have a keeper, we have a wonderful administrative assistant at DNR that helps us, and we'll make sure we get those links out to you. So thanks for your time today. I also want to mention, I do have to jump off right at 1. So if you have questions for me, type them in the chat or ask them right away. So thanks everybody. And Kelly, I'm not sure, I think I'll just pass it over to John, right? We don't need to do an introduction. So I'm going to pass it over to my fellow Flatwater Trail Commissioner, John Burchett, who I'm excited to meet in person. I'm going to Southern West Virginia at the end of July and might even get on the Bloody Mingo Tug Fork Water Trail. So thanks everybody. I will stop screen sharing right now.
Thanks, Amanda. John, we're turning it over to you. So I will actually begin spotlighting John. I can see him. There you are.
Okay.
Add spotlight. There we go. So you're good to go, John.
All right. Thanks, Amanda. As we've been talking about, the newest Flatwater Trail in the state of West Virginia is the Bloody Mingo Tug Fork River Flatwater Trail. I'm going to try to share my screen here real quick, and we'll see how this turns out.
It's getting there. Okay. There we go.
Okay. What you're looking at here is the drainage area actually of the Big Sandy River. The Tug Fork does drain into the Big Sandy, which goes into the Ohio just south of Huntington. You're looking at the Leviza Fork there in the southwest, and the Tug Fork is the state line between West Virginia and Kentucky. It becomes navigable around the city of Welch in McDowell County, flows northwest to Louisa, Kentucky, Fort Gay, West Virginia, where it joins with the Leviza Fork and forms the Big Sandy. It's about 159 miles long. It forms this little jig of Virginia that comes out right here, forms about a 5-mile border with West Virginia. The rest of the river is West Virginia, Kentucky. There is debate about who actually owns the river. I was always told that it was all West Virginia, all the way to the low water mark on the Kentucky side, but recently it's looking more like it's a centerline type situation. So it's debatable, but we're working. It works for us for it to be a centerline river for several reasons that we'll get to. We have a lot of history along the river. Of course, everyone knows the story of the Hatfield-McCoy feud. The river was the dividing line between those two families. They were mostly in the Matewan area, which is just upstream, about 15 miles upstream of Williamson. Matewan was also home of a lot of conflict during the mine wars. Baldwin Phelps detectives with the coal companies against the unionization of the coal mine workers. And there were some gun battles and a lot of bloodshed in that area back in those days. There was a movie made several years ago called Matewan that's based on that story. I have not been able to find that streaming. I keep looking, but I haven't found it yet. There's a lot of bloodshed in Mingo County's history, and that's the reason that we named the trail the Bloody Mingo. Was in honor or retrospect of that of all that bloodshed. Our economy here has been coal, and more coal. Through the boom and bust cycles that coal has always had, and then the big bust just a few years ago. We were, depending on the year, Mingo County was either the first, second, or third largest coal producing county in West Virginia, and West Virginia was either the first, second, or third largest coal producing state in the country. We were coal. When you drove into the city of Williamson, the welcome sign said, "Welcome to Williamson, the heart of the billion-dollar coal field." So we've lost our coal industry for the most part. There's a rapid decline in economy. So a little better than 20 years ago, the Hatfield-McCoy ATV trail system was established and started in Mingo, Logan counties, and surrounding areas. But it was a little slow to grow, of course. New things always are. But it has grown to a huge tourist attraction for the entire coalfield area of West Virginia, bringing people from all over the country. We regularly see people from New York, from the Carolinas, from Ohio, but also from every state in the country come here to ride their ATVs on our famous trails. And in the last few years, we've seen a huge investment in lodging and resorts in Mingo and surrounding counties. It is impressive the amount of money that's being poured into tourism and lodging facilities and resorts for that type of economy. And so we see our water trail as the second, kind of the second ride in our outdoor adventure amusement park. That's kind of the way we feel about it. We have people come here, and the question is always posed to them, or they ask the question, okay, we've ridden the trails, now what else can we do? And they kind of get a dumb look because there is nothing else to do here. So we're trying to build things into the locally to keep people here. That's what it's all about, is heads in beds, keeping people here for longer. And the water trail, once we get it really going, I think will be a big driver for that. So let's start Friends of the Tug Fork River. About 6 years ago, a little less than 6 years ago, our president started a Facebook page, or a Facebook group called Friends of the Tug Fork River. He was an avid fisherman of the river and wanted to share some pictures of the fish he was catching with some friends on Facebook. So we invited a few friends to join that. And it's amazing what the smallest idea, the smallest thought, smallest little thing can turn into. That Facebook group, less than 6 years old, has over 16,500 followers and group members. We have built that into an incorporated business last year. We have started doing a fishing expo here in Williamson. We did our second one last year. Our third one is coming up next year. We received our nonprofit status, so we are 501c3 in May of this year. We have directors in McDowell County, West Virginia, Mingo County, West Virginia, Pike County, Kentucky, and Martin County, Kentucky, and hope to expand that on downriver to Lawrence, Kentucky, and Wayne, West Virginia. But as Amanda has said, some of our river systems have major problems. Theirs was acid mine drainage. They had basically a dead stream and overcame tremendous issues to recreate the river and restore the river. We have a healthy stream in the Tug Fork. Our problem is tires. It was just a way of life here back in the day. The river was our trash dump. And along with that trash came hundreds of thousands of tires that ended up in our river and our waterway. Our trash situation is now no worse than anywhere else, really. We still have an issue with it, but it's not that bad. But all those tires that ended up in the river over the years, over the decades, are still there. So we started what we call a tire tug of war. We are tugging tires out of the Tug Fork River in a war against them. So this is 2019 when we first started our tire cleanup efforts. And this is all of the pictures that I have here are in the city of Williamson. This is where we've concentrated our efforts so far. This is what the river looked like when we first went into it and started cleaning it up. This is day one. We worked with West Virginia DEP REAP. They had been working on a Coal River group, removing tires and other debris. This is their machine. It is a HydroTrek. It is, of course, has tracks for when it's in shallow water, and it has propellers on the back for when it gets in deeper water. And we use this machine. It moves through the river. We put a tow strap on some D hooks and a hook on the end, hook into the rim of a tire, and he backs up and pulls the tire loose. The hardest part about the whole job is breaking these tires loose from the bottom. So with that machine, that's the hardest part is taken care of. So all of these tires here have been broken loose. We then have a volunteer rinse the mud and dirt out of it and load it into a john boat that we use to transport the tires to where we're going to take them out of the river. This is a different section of river. This is our business district outside of Williamson. We have flood walls along most of the city of Williamson. This is the wall that protects our business district. This was 2020. Our fire department went out. REAP DEP was not available because of COVID. So we did a local effort and we collected 180 tires that year. This is another beautiful river. Nice engineered flood wall, but we have tires. This is last year, 2021. This is South Williamson, Kentucky's flood protection. Then we collected over 800 tires this day. We had volunteers in the water. You can see them here. Get in the water and we just stand them up and rinse them out and then load them into a john boat and take them where they need to go. So after we load them in a John boat, the Hydrotrek again serves a second purpose. It's kind of a tugboat type situation. This was the biggest tire we found so far. That's me and our president, Pete Runyon. We're working to get this monster out of the river. And there it is after we got it out. This was last year as well. You can see the beautiful sandy beach, the beautiful river, but on down through here, you see volunteers pulling tires. Volunteers pulling tires. This is a manual effort of pulling a tire. There's a tire here, and Pete has a piece of rebar bent in the end, pulling it loose from the bottom, working it loose. And then we got it loose and taking it to rinse it. More situations of tires being loaded into John boats and our Hydrotrek machine. This is, again, the South Williamson, Kentucky flood wall. This is the West Virginia side of the river. We have offloaded a lot of tires here. There is a skid steer machine up here with a winch cable. We line them up in rows so that, whoops, let's see. Yeah, line them up in rows so that the winch cable can be run through them. And then we pull them up the hill about 20 at a time. That's what it looks like when you get them up there. It's a hard day's work, and sometimes our volunteers get a little dirty and a little worn out, and we find other things in the river. We have fun with it. This is Pete Runyon, our president, and Grace Williams, one of our board members. Grace is threatening Pete with a ray gun. Another group shot some people working with us last year. This was in 2019. 2019, we recovered 2,231 tires, and this was the last of those tires, the end of the day on the last day. This is a group of volunteers we had working. This is what we've done so far to date. This section up here was our fire department in 2020, between the two bridges along in our business district, 180 tires. This was a section downstream of where we normally work, where we have been working, 738 tires, and our access for that was right here. So we had to bring those tires in John boats all the way back up on the Kentucky side to bring them out here. But this is our major concentration, and this is where we started. 2019, 2,321 tires, 2021, 1,860 tires, for a total of 4,181 tires. The next picture I'm going to show you was taken this spring, and I took it right in this area right here. I went out to walk the South Williamson, Kentucky flood wall and look at and enjoy the clean river that we had created. So I was walking along and I saw a tire here, tire there, and I got a little further down, and this is what I found. Now, these tires are not new. This is the next layer down of the tires that are in the river. Our theory is that each year we pull a layer off, and that when we pull that layer off, the silt and sand washes away from the next layer and exposes it underneath. So this year will be our third year working in this area, and we've already taken 4,181 tires out of here. And you can see the white walls. So these aren't new, these are old. So this is our challenge, tires in our river. Amanda had acid mine drainage. Different river systems have different problems. Our bane and our headache is these hundreds of thousands of tires that are in our river. And what you've seen here is just Williamson. This is this section of river right here is 1/3 of a mile that we've taken 4,181 tires out of. So you go in to create a water trail, and this is part of it. There are several parts of it. but this is part of it. You kind of adopt that river and clean it up and want to make it presentable for people to come and float. Earlier this year, we started a stream monitoring program. It is a joint effort between the West Virginia Watershed Improvement Branch and the Kentucky Watershed Watch. And both of those are their equivalent organizations based on West Virginia DEP, Kentucky DEP. They just named them different. They do the same thing. They provide support for watershed groups. And we started a stream monitoring program where we brought both West Virginia and Kentucky together to share data, to share information. And we did a joint training. It was the first ever in the state of West Virginia or the state of Kentucky that two states joined together to train a watershed group in stream monitoring. So the purpose of this is to go out and monitor the tributaries of the river. Our main goal, as Amanda was speaking of, is untreated wastewater, sewage water coming into our stream. And by identifying the sources of the pollution and providing evidence that that pollution is there, it makes the area eligible for more governmental funding for sewage treatment plants, upgrading existing sewage treatment plants, and for residential septic, things along those lines. It provides funding, but you have to prove it's there and provide the evidence before it helps to get that money available. We did water chemistry and we did benthic surveys to see what was in our water. But this is the goal. I've showed you the pictures of the tires. It's an ugly picture of tires. This is the same section of river. This is the Tug Fork River in Williamson, and it's absolutely beautiful. We have a scene of, we have beautiful scene. This picture actually made it into Wonderful West Virginia magazine and a story about the Tug Fork Water Trail. This is a local photographer, Wes Wilson, that was floating with me this day, this morning, and I actually took a picture of a photographer. So, and again, City of Williamson, this is what it's all about. This is what we're looking for along a water trail, and this is the attraction. Another shot of the Bloody Mingo Flatwater Trail. You don't see tires, but they're there. We have beautiful flood wall architecture. The Corps of Engineers has blessed us with that. They did a tremendous job protecting our towns, but providing some nice architecture on the walls too, and water and river access. This is a bridge, US 119 quarter G. And as Amanda said, you have to have a dog picture if you're showing the river. So this is my girl, Gracie. She walks the river with me every morning. We walk down to the West Williamson Flood Wall and do a river report in our Facebook group, Friends of the Tug Fork River. This is the area that we have pulled 4,181 tires out of. I guess that's it for the slides. Now, the application for a Flatwater trail, and we went through this process last year. It's not a difficult process. You primarily want to determine who's going to be involved in establishing the trail, who's going to be the primary sponsor, and who are going to be the secondary sponsors. We had a really nice group that we put together. It was the Tug Valley Chamber of Commerce, Williamson Parks and Recreation, Williamson Health and Wellness, the Tug Valley CVB, Friends of the Tug Fork River, And our lead sponsor was National Coal Heritage Area Authority, Christy Bailey. I'm sure most of you know Christy. And our original goal was to do the entire river, the entire navigable parts of the river from McDowell all the way down to Fort Gay, West Virginia, and Wayne County. But our committee was local here in Williamson, and we had good support in Mingo and Pike counties, but we didn't have good connections in McDowell and Wayne counties in West Virginia. So we decided that we would do the 60 miles of the border of Mingo County. And the reasons for that, during the application process, you're required to put a copy of it on file in a courthouse or a library or a city hall in each county that the water trail will pass through. We didn't have those connections in the other two counties. And you have to have a community meeting in all three counties if we were going to do all three counties. So and you're responsible for trail maintenance in those counties. So we knew we could handle Mingo. We were really doubtful whether we could alone handle McDowell and Wayne. So we decided to do the 60 miles of Mingo and court other groups to do McDowell and Wayne. And the reason we gave the Mingo section a unique name is because we will now have 3 water trails. McDowell County, we met with late last year, found some great partners in that area. And they are in the process of working with Christy Bailey at Coal Heritage Area to establish another water trail along the Tug Fork in McDowell that will connect into the Bloody Mingo Trail. But there isn't a lot of information required for the application. You need to have a good map that shows the water trail, existing amenities, access points, points of interest, history, things like that, and the public meetings. You submit a request to proceed to the West Virginia Recreational Trail Authority Board, and they give you permission to proceed with the meetings. It's all spelled out pretty clearly, but there's nothing complicated about the application. It is time consuming, but it's an easy process.
And John, if this is accessible, we can also link to it in the chat. I'm sure somebody has it. I did just want to quickly mention that we're running a little bit short on time. So I wanted to be sure that you were able to wrap up and we could get to Brewster and leave some extra time for questions.
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay, thank you. Sorry to cut you off. I think we were all so enamored by the amazing work, and those tire pictures are really impressive. So just it's incredible, everything.
Really depressingly impressed.
It is, but it is inspiring to see people come together and do so much great work there on your section of the river. So thank you so much, John. We'll have time to ask John questions in a bit. We're going to pop over to Brewster. Amanda has to leave the meeting early, so if you have questions for her, we can get those to her later. But we're gonna pass it off to Brewster here to learn about the Ohio Riverway. Thanks, John. Okay.
Okay, guys, how are you all? My name is Brewster Rhodes, and as was the introduction you heard, I'm the chair of what's called the Ohio Riverway, and I'm trying to share this here. Oh my God. So like you all, we have challenges big time with the Ohio River. Some of you, I'm sure, are very familiar with what those challenges are, but they're not necessarily tires, and not necessarily, though we're impacted by the runoff from the mining, of course, in the Cheat and ultimately into the Ohio, because we get everything that you have coming through your rivers, obviously. But what we've done with the Ohio Riverway over the last 4 years is gather a bunch of crazy river rats. I live part-time on a houseboat, and as was mentioned, run the paddling event in Cincinnati a come on down. It's the 6th of August this year with the festival the night before with bands and food trucks and good beer and a fishing tournament and all kinds of stuff. We'll have a couple thousand people at that the night before. And then we also run a swimming event across the river in September, actually, I'm sorry, the end of August. So we'll have 150 people swim the Ohio back and forth, and they all raise money for this nonprofit adventure crew organization. But regardless, our challenge is that people think the river's dirty and dangerous. Bottom line. And so over the years, historically, people have turned their back to the Ohio River, building flood walls out of necessity in so many cases, but really not, you've seen the river as an asset other than for commercial transportation, for barge industry, et cetera. But clearly over the last 30 years, there's been a change in mindset. So communities are understanding that the river is an economic development asset to the extent that it can attract folks who were interested in outdoor recreation, building the fishing the community, the power boating community, the paddling community, folks into nature, but also just for the views and for the postcard pictures for Cincinnati and for Louisville and other communities of the bridges and the stadiums and the downtown development. That's the picture that communities want now to send around the world, saying, hey, we are a great city on an incredibly great river with amazing history and culture, whether it's the Underground Railroad, Native American history, the early pioneer development, the movement to the west, the Lewis and Clark deal, the breweries, wineries, and distilleries, the historic 19th century river towns that look exactly like they did over 100 years ago, and the vibrant local food scene we have in so many of our communities. So frankly, those of us who just love paddling and have paddled Cincinnati to Louisville or Portsmouth to Louisville a number of times over multi-day trips, when it's 2 a.m. and you're paddling and you don't see a light anywhere, you start thinking, wouldn't it be cool if we could develop an organization that would market the river, the assets that we have, and encourage communities to turn their to have the river be their front door, not their back door, to develop the recreational assets along the river, and basically to market the hell out of this corridor that has so much history, so many recreational opportunities, so much opportunity for economic and community development. So for over the last 4 years, we've been working on this project. I am now the chair of the board of what's called the Ohio River Way. We have now rebranded the Ohio River Recreation Trail from Portsmouth to Louisville, about a 275-mile section, as the Ohio River Way. And we partnered with the National Park Service through the Trails and Conservation Assistance Program. And for the last 2.5 years, I've been working with 2 of their professional staff to help build out the organization and develop it further. And I'm talking faster than I can actually move things here, but and in fact, how am I going to do this? Doggone it. Well, geez, I'm sorry, I'm trying to get into my website, but I'm blocked because all my stuff is at the top here. What did I do wrong?
I can see the tab for your website, Brewster. It's like right beside the same tab that your map is on now. I don't know if you can maybe stop sharing your screen and then get it to the website, and then, yep.
All right. Gee whiz.
And I'm happy to pull up the website too.
Yeah,
I'm
sorry. Would you mind?
Okay.
I am so
No worries.
dumb.
No,
Right.
no, let's do it. Let's do that.
All right.
Okay.
But folks, the bottom line is that we are basically cheerleaders for the Ohio River. We developed an organization with a board that has representatives from all these different communities. We have a steering committee of another 20 representatives from all the different communities. We have about 30 towns that have now become dues paying members of our organization. We raise, or will by the time our cycle is up, raise about $100,000 from communities. For example, Louisville and Cincinnati each pay $10,000 a year, but smaller river communities pay as low as $250 to $1,000 to $2,500 for the smaller communities along the river. We have 15 travel and tourism agencies. I need to stop sharing. 15 travel and tourism agencies that are partners with us. We work closely with ODNR, with Indiana DNR, with Kentucky Fish and Wildlife, and collaborate with them. We're now working to have our stretch of the Ohio be determined designated as an official water trail by each of those 3 states, with the goal of then applying for national trail status or national recreation trail status. So this is our website, the opening page here. I'm sorry, can you go up? I apologize.
That's okay.
Let's see, why don't you jump into the towns and then hit river towns. Good, hit that. And as you can see, going down here further, if you can, we have on the left, we have hit Indiana, if you don't mind. And you can see for each of these towns, we have a separate page for each one of them, helping them communicate what assets they have, links to their local websites, et cetera. But it's a way for those communities to market to people who wouldn't otherwise think about going to Aurora, Indiana for the weekend with their kayak on the roof and their bike on the back, and spending a weekend exploring the recreational opportunities in that community, maybe staying at a bed and breakfast. We're also working with Aurora now, for example, to help them develop a primitive campsite so cyclists and paddlers and power boaters can really affordably visit those communities. We've also developed what we call a digital guide to the Ohio. So if you can go to the digital guide button on right there, good, click on that, and then click on explore the guide. Excellent. And then click I agree. And what's going to happen is this will show, well, there we are. It should populate in a second. Wonder why
I
it's
think
not.
it's just taking a minute to,
All right. So
there's
this
so
is
much information.
yeah, so this is basically this will become, once it loads, a standard GIS mapping system that has over 600 points of interest. So when it works, which it does for me all the time.
Yeah.
So in fact, it showed you where you were located.
Yeah,
It's
I
a
know. I won't.
location-based deal. But the point is, we have all the marinas, fuel docks, boat ramps, floating restaurants, commercial facilities identified for safety purposes. We have Underground Railroad historical sites, Native American historical sites. There's over 800 points of interest along this digital guide. And if you can zero in real tight and see for any given community what their assets are. And this is one of those constantly developing projects that'll take years to build out fully. We're trying to figure out how to make this an actual app as opposed to a page on a digital application on a website. But still, it works really well. The power boating community loves this for planning trips. Cyclists are increasingly understanding how useful this is to them. So we have a number of cycling groups, et cetera, involved as partners with us, along with the power boating community. And we have a good relationship with the industrial users. So the Central Ohio River Business Association, which represents the barge and rail companies, the insurance companies, et cetera. They are active partners and actually give us, are members of the organization that give us $500 a year as their dues for the operation. So the point is, this is a way for people to plan their experience, their adventure on the Ohio River. So if you can get out of that and go to members, at the top, membership, and hit our members. I just want to give people a feel for what we've been able to do. Up to this point, we've invited anybody who would like to fill out the pledge to become a partner with us that commits them to doing a variety of things. We have some additional funders here, as you can see, but if you go down below, you will see the communities that are officially partners with us right now, which is like 20 some different cities and villages along the river. We have, 15, 18 tourism agencies. And then below that is basically the overall master list of everybody. So we have a lot of park districts, recreation commissions, conservancy districts, chambers of commerce, et cetera, liveries, Sheraton Hotel, for heaven's sakes. So a lot of entities that want to be part of this, breweries, and our job is to expand that as we turn people who for free became partners with us, no cost, into dues paying members, and we're well towards our goal of 100,000 from those dues paying members. So the question is our plan to expand this beyond Portsmouth, which is our upriver most anchor trailhead? The answer is we're open to doing that. The Army Corps, frankly, out of Huntington really wants us to. We've been working closely with Huntington and Louisville districts. It's all a matter of resources. We're volunteers. We raised 150,000 from foundations to help do some of the development of our logo and our website development and our signage plan, et cetera. The last thing I'll talk about briefly is if you could go up again to the top and select, see, up under the towns, hit the, oh no, under river, I'm sorry, the button that says Rivertown events. Right.
Rivertown.
Rivertown, the bigger button right there, Rivertown
Oh,
events.
I'm
right
sorry.
there.
Yep.
So
Mhm.
one of the things we've done in cooperation with the market, with the tourism agencies, and scroll down because you'll see it becomes real time unless you have something that goes for months and months. But we have 150 events, annual events that occur, and this is sequential by date in communities up and down the river. So they could be fishing tournaments, they could be concerts, they could be paddling events like this one right there. The ACA has their national sprint championships here in Cincinnati. Festivals and fairs. But any given weekend, like in your communities, you can have, there are 10, 20 events that are happening. So this is another way for servicing the needs of the public. And then if you can go to the top once again, last thing here. Well, I won't talk about it further, like that is highlighted, but we have, in our partnership with the National Park Service, we've done 12 what we call Rivertown reviews, where we do a deep dive with the National Park Service staff and our volunteers, and do a digital analysis of their presence, of a community's presence online, a site analysis of all their assets, and then we do a community meeting with a SWOT analysis that results in a 90 to 100 page written report submitted to them by the National Park Service about things with recommendations that come out of this process, of things that they could do to further enhance their community's attractiveness for outdoor recreation. So that's all I have time for right now. I'm sorry to be rushing, but we look forward to collaborating with you in any way that makes sense. We're just learning. And as I say, we're all a bunch of river rat volunteers who just love getting people out onto the river and appreciating it and seeing it as an economic development tool and asset. And we're trying to raise money from the federal government like you all are too. So that's our website right there. And appreciate very much your time, folks. Look forward to working with you. And it's amazing what you all are doing with your respective rivers. Hats off.
Thank you, Brewster. This is incredible. And yeah, if anybody has time now or afterwards, do check out the website. The digital guide is really great. And it's also great to see, Mary, thanks again for sharing the Mon area paddlers website as well, just to see kind of everything, all of the different amenities that are out there in the communities, and working together on the river town efforts, and how that connects with some of the trail town efforts that are existing is really exciting. Lots of opportunities there. I'm gonna go ahead, and we're running over, but we can stay on for another 10 minutes or so we can get to some of the questions, but wanted to go ahead and turn it over to Jeremy to see if I've been loosely monitoring the chat, but you may have seen a question that's unanswered.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'll go ahead and there were a couple questions. I think Brewster answered the one on signage and how they coordinate that. I believe you said that you answered that in the talk, but do you want to expand on that a little bit about how you kind of coordinated the signage and signs for the entire route?
Well, there's 61 public access boat ramps between Portsmouth and south of Louisville, the terminus of our stretch at the moment. And we created custom, actually, that's one right there. You can see it. It looks kind of weird, but it looks backward to me. But the bottom line is it 2 by 2.5 foot highway sign that we've distributed to the communities for each one of those boat ramps, with the mile marker, the name of the community, our logo, and then a QR code on this little sign here for businesses and for the waterfront. So we're trying to brand the river, and we're also trying to raise money for big ass kiosks at every boat ramp along the, plus at downtown overlooks for small and larger communities that would have information about the ecology of the Ohio and the riparian zones, about the history of the river, about cultural assets along the river, Underground Railroad, et cetera, and with the mapping as well, plus a bunch of safety information. So, we envision kiosks that are 6 by 4 that are permanent, that might cost, $8,000 a piece, but our goal is to have at every one of those public access points, plus, as I say, places that the public can view the river, to do that education piece.
Thanks. That's great. This is one of the largest rivers in the country, and in such a huge coalition, and moving through so many municipalities and some of the largest cities in the country as well. How do you keep this moving forward? Do you have paid staff?
Well,
you said you're all volunteers.
We're all volunteers, but we do have we have a consultant contractor who's underbilling us, of course. But she's a public finance expert with a law firm, but she's also a fanatic paddler and has been on the trip 4 years in a row. And so she's working with us on different earmark requests through Sherrod Brown's office, through Yarmouth and Louisville, through the Federal Land Access Program, and now with the America the Beautiful program, we're trying to apply for a $5 million 8-project comprehensive regional asset development project for boat ramps, for campsites, et cetera. We'll see. It's competitive as hell. But yeah, we're basically a volunteer operation. Yeah.
Okay. And then I think the biggest question is how do we move this into West Virginia and include West Virginia and the upper Ohio River Valley?
Well, it's really all up to, well, obviously we need collaboration, we need partners. The last thing we want to do is be imperialists when it comes to water trail development. So to the extent that there's an interest in collaborating upstream, we'd love to talk to folks about how to do that and figure out ways of sharing the assets we develop. The digital guide, right, frankly, given it's a GIS operation, is for the entire Ohio River. Actually, it's for the world, right? You can add, but anybody can add points of interest regardless of where they are on the Ohio at no cost, right? Right now, and start making use of that if they want to. We also, by the way, have a lot of informational safety. We did a 10-minute video on how you can lock through for power boats and paddlers. We're big time into that. Plus, we have a lot of real-time information on water level, current, river stage, etc. Well, the river stuff, weather, etc., updated hourly.
Yeah, great.
You
There
have,
was go ahead, Mary.
I was just going to ask Brewster if you have contacts, like for example, Parkersburg, Pittsburgh. They've got really active, kayaking groups there. They do some big festivals and things. Do you have some contacts in our section of the river?
Well, we really don't, and frankly, we haven't been trying to, just because it's a big enough job to deal with 275 miles, right? Now there are folks downstream, like 3 counties downstream. The Chamber of Commerce in Meade County is begging us, to extend the trail to them. Ironton wants to be the trailhead. We just did a 10-day paddle. And we did 18 ribbon cutting events in communities along the way, camping out, and we got 27 newspaper or media stories out of the thing. It was great, but we're sort of at capacity.
Yeah, understand that.
Yeah.
Well, I think Bree said that Huntington is ready to have a conversation, I believe is what she said in the chat. She's the city planning staff there, so she'd love to help make connections there, and they have a really great progressive mayor. So maybe that's an entree into West Virginia.
Well, wonderful. We had the mayor of Portsmouth join us on the trip for 5 days. So he'd never been in a canoe or kayak or a powerboat on his life, and decided to he jumped into our canoe and spent 5 days with us going to Cincinnati. So we would love to. I'll put my email in the chat, and I'd love to hear from you all.
All right, and I live in Wheeling, and I'll speak for the mayor here because I've worked on his election campaigns. He's a great progressive guy as well, and we would love to be involved. So we'll just bring it on up north as well,
Great.
and we'll just hit all the towns in between.
Thank you.
I think Bree had a question about water quality as well. Do you guys know does what you do include much in terms of the water quality questions? Because in West Virginia, John touched on it and Amanda touched on it as well, in terms of it's a big issue in West Virginia is the water quality, and of course all of it dumps basically into the Ohio River.
Well, we have a very close partnership with Orsanco. In fact, they're going to be the fiscal agent for the grant application we're submitting for the America the Beautiful program. And our safety director worked there for 30 years. And they do weekly water quality testing, especially for E. coli. And we promote that on our Facebook page, et cetera. We don't do our own water quality testing.
Okay, great. And I just want to say you spoke to my heartstrings when you talked about coming in with the Park Service and doing this SWOT analysis. I ran a community design team at WVU for a number of years, and that was very much what we did, kind of weekend SWOT analysis and turning out reports for communities. So I would love to see that happen for river communities in West Virginia and possibly be involved in some of those. I want to move on to a question I have for John on sort of promotion and social media and how that Facebook group or page grew to 16,000. And was that I mean, was that just organic, or did you go out and do some promotion of that? And because I mean that's kind of important for groups that want to do that, and sometimes it's a little bit dangerous. You know, I've done some work in the Mon Forest for West Virginia Rivers Coalition, and you know, Dolly Sods has had similar kind of growth of Facebook groups, and it's actually been a little bit dangerous for the Dolly Sods group. But for a group like yours, you know, you want that to happen. So, but how did that come about?
It's been mostly organic. The first thing that drove it, we had a father and son team. The father was a retired Army Ranger. His son was graduating from high school, was going into the military service. They floated the entire length of the river, the navigable sections, in 2018. And along the way, communities came out to support, to provide shelter and food and water. And as they came down the river, the group grew exponentially, the Facebook group. And it took several days to make the entire journey, ending up in Fort Gay, West Virginia, there at the confluence of the Leviza Fork. Then in 2019, when we did our first major tire cleanup, we had another explosion in growth on the in the Facebook group, and it draws a lot of attention. We have a lot of flooding along the river also, and people are interested in seeing what's happening. We have a lot of people that have moved away, obviously, and want to keep up with what's going on at home. And every flood event that we get, we see an influx, a major influx of group members. And there was something else that happened. Oh, the meeting in McDowell County. McDowell County has suffered economically for a very long time, and a lot of people have left McDowell County. And once we had that meeting and a few of the locals started joining the group, it spread really fast through the Carolinas. A lot of people from McDowell have moved into the Carolinas, and we picked up probably 3,000 people just from that one meeting in McDowell County.
That's great. I mean, that's you know, that type of promotion is just really helpful to growing this kind of tourism development and spreading the word. And then, like you said, also, you know, disaster preparedness. Sometimes you can get out information when things are happening. Particularly, I actually, you mentioned McDowell County. I got stranded in a flood event in 2001 when the floods were happening. I was stuck there on an apartment building in McDowell County one time on the second floor during a quick flood. So those
Hey,
things
Jeremy,
happen fast.
I'm sorry, I apologize. Just real quickly, you were talking about the Rivertown review process on our website. Under Rivertown, under towns, there's a Rivertown review tab underneath the town button, and we have 9 of the 12 reports. The balance, the 3 that we just did, are still in the process of being developed. The entire reports for each of those communities are on the website for people to take a look at.
Oh, great.
And also there's a whole 2-pager PDF about the process for application and how the Rivertown review thing works. And the National Park Service, and this is a tribute to their incredible leadership and work, are now nationally seeing what they experimented with us, with this Rivertown review process as a national model to take throughout the country. So that's flattering.
Yes, absolutely.
Thanks for mentioning that, John. I dropped the link to the Brewster. I dropped the link to the reports in the chat there too. And those are really great to look at as a model of, you know, something that we could be doing in West Virginia. And we also have the same kind of support through the Rivers Trails and Conservation Assistance Program. Nathan Hilbert, who was on earlier, is the West Virginia RTCA staff person. So it's really great to be connected with RTCA and the Park Service in that way too. But I know that we're at time, and I know folks have some other commitments. We just want to thank John and Brewster. Thank you both so much for all your incredible work and for your time today. It was really great for all of us to connect. I think you can see from a lot of the excited comments in the chat, people learned a lot, and I know you'll probably be getting some follow-up emails. So thank you both so much for your time. Thanks to Amanda, she's already off, but we all know how to get in touch with her. So we really appreciate everybody's time today, and look for a message soon about registering for the West Virginia Trail Conference at the end of October, very soon. But thank you, everyone.
Can we get back to the chat too? It's being recorded, right?
Oh yeah, thank you, Mary.
Tell us how we get back.
Yeah, I'll send a follow-up email, and I'll just
great.
include the chat in it as an attachment. So that's a great idea. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
We'll do that. Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of the day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye.